Hello and welcome to the Profitable Coach podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Rich, head coach at Transformation Academy. From seasoned experts sharing their hard-earned wisdom to rising stars navigating their journey, every episode uncovers the stories, strategies, and lessons behind what it takes to create massive impact and income as a coach. This show is brought to you by Transformation Academy and the Impact Coaching Collective. If you're ready to be inspired, take action, and build the coaching business of your dreams, well, then you are in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to episode number 75 of the Profitable Coach podcast. Today, I am joined by my beautiful friend, Frances Joy, and we really dive deep into what does it take to actually embody the change that you are investing in inside of your business, inside your own personal growth journey, and how to help your clients to really embody that new identity. So I love this conversation. Frances and I can always go so deep and it's so impactful. She's one of the people that I have consistently turned to over the years as both a mentor and a friend. So I really hope you enjoyed today's conversation. We talk about everything from investing in yourself, what are some really powerful mentors that she's hired over the years, and how to embody your future self now. So without further ado, please welcome the one and only Frances Joy. Welcome back to the Profitable Coach podcast. I am so excited to have my friend Frances Joy joining me today. Welcome, Frances.
Thank you, Kim. I'm so excited to be here.
I wanted to have Frances on the podcast because we have been friends for a handful of years now, and I recently got to visit her in Medellin, Colombia, and it was such a beautiful reminder that you are the power of the people that you surround yourself with. And Frances and I have found ourselves in many overlapping circles in the personal growth space, and she's someone that is so skilled at integrating what she learns and really embodying it and changing her life versus just acquiring a bunch of knowledge. And so I like visiting Frances. I like talking to Frances. I like coming to her as both a friend and a mentor. So Frances, take us back to the beginning of your personal growth journey. How did you even discover this world? Why did you know that it was something you wanted to double down on or lean into?
Absolutely. This goes way back. And it's something that I actually don't share that often. So thank you for asking. And for me, it started because I had had so much success, right? I had built a successful real estate business. I had all of these vacation rentals. I was traveling the world. And then one day I come home and it's just before Christmas, probably 8 years ago now. I'm trying to remember what year it was exactly. And I go caroling with some friends. And I come back from caroling and all of a sudden my body is wiped out. And I go to bed. And it's 7 or 8 p.m., super early still. And I had what I found out later was a panic attack, but at the time I didn't know what it was. At the time I was like, I'm dying because I can't breathe properly. And for anyone who's had a panic attack, you can relate to that. It's like this, it's super scary. And especially when you don't know what it is. I had my friend I was caring with take me to the emergency room, urgent care. We tried to, do all these tests and they're like, nothing is wrong with you. And it was so clear to me that something is wrong if I can't breathe. And so later I was sharing this experience with friends and they said, oh, you had a panic attack. And so I did some research and I realized that everything that I had been bottling up inside from past trauma and past abuse and just trying to will my way out of and trying to use my mind to get out of and saying, oh, I'm beyond that now, that it was living inside of me. And because I didn't know that, I didn't have the tools then to heal and to process traumas and abuses. It was all just living inside of me and then came out in that way. And so that's really what started it. From there, that realization that I can't escape my past. I can't escape what has happened in my life. What I can do is take responsibility for who I am today, how I'm showing up today. And so that was the start. And I started going to therapy. And then pretty soon after that, I actually went into the Tony Robbins world and found him to be a really amazing mentor that then through his work, because his work is so expansive, led me to some really beautiful mentors in very specific areas.
And Tony Robbins is actually the way in which we had our paths cross. And so it's very nourishing for me when we can talk about that world and all the different places that it's led each of us since then, because that's often how mentorship or coaching begins. You find one person who sort of opens the door for you. They're like the gateway drug of personal growth. And then you find a bunch of other mentors that, like you said, serve in very specific areas of life. So I'm curious, what are some of the other categories or areas that you have invested in yourself?
For me, it's been so comprehensive, and that's actually what my focus is now with my coaching and mentoring practice, because I'm someone who values learning about so many different things. I also teach that now. And so very specifically, for example, one of my favorite mentors that I talk about a lot is Alison Armstrong, who teaches on relationships. And she's transformed the ways that I show up in relationships. Right. And, I've learned from so many different real estate people because that's my background as well. That's also something that I teach. And, if I had a tagline for my business, it's definitely invest in a beautiful life. Because to me, investing in a beautiful life is so much about it's physical investments, right? Real estate, stocks, learning to invest our money in wise ways. And it's also investing in ourselves, which, as Warren Buffett says, one of the greatest investors of all time, our best investment we can make is in ourselves. Right? So learning how to have better relationships, better communication. I've taken Dale Carnegie courses. I mean, if I had a list of all of the courses and mentors that I had, it would take a long, long time to go through that. I've taken so many, and I continue to, because growth is such an important part of who I am.
Yeah, I was thinking about this as I'm, in the dating world. God bless you for not being in that world anymore. As I'm in the dating world, I'm thinking about this meeting that I have coming up, or date. And I'm like, okay, these are my values. Like, I'm really curious if this person has even defined his values, let alone if ours overlap. And I know that's one of the things that you and I bond on a lot, is like, we're really clear that growth is a big value for us, and we will be constant, never-ending students. But I would love for you to be able to share with the listeners, what are one or maybe two things that you've shifted inside your romantic partnership that you learned from Allison? Because I love giving credit where credit's due, and she's definitely a brilliant relationship mentor.
100%. So I actually just finished a book club with her on her book, The Queen's Code, which I recommend to everyone listening. It's such a great starting point for this kind of work. And something that I realized, because now I'm in partnership, and when I had first started studying her work, I was single. And so it was really cool to then see, okay, how have I evolved? And one of the things that came up in this round that I had learned before, but it was a needed reminder, is the importance of really being so mindful of how we're showing up in relationship, and she talks about this a lot, and not emasculating men. And she goes through all the different ways we can emasculate men without even recognizing that we're doing that. And in a society which so often talks about how, men are toxic and masculinity, there's toxic masculinity. Yes, there's aspects of negative masculinity and femininity, but I've found that that's the exception and not the rule. And so often, if you've also had anything in your life where you've been hurt or traumatized by one person, you can extrapolate that across the board. And that's what I did. And so recognizing that, emasculating the men in my life actually harms me as much as everybody else, and how the different ways that can show up, and not even realizing that. And so it's like, when that becomes aware to us, then we can actually shift it. So that was a huge thing for me, of recognizing how I have been emasculating the men in my life, and then being able to shift that to bring out the best in men, because bringing out the best in men also brings out the best in us. Because men want to be there to provide for us and protect us and care for us, but they can't protect us when they're protecting themselves from us.
Love that. Love that. So one thing that I said about you at the beginning of this episode is that you're really good at integrating and embodying what it is that you learn. And I would love for you to share some tips with the listeners on, like, how do you actually take these things that you're watching in videos, you're listening to in podcasts, you're reading in books, and not let old habits override this new information, actually put it into practice?
I love that question, because that to me is what growth is. And I was someone who for a long time didn't do that, actually. So I love that you're asking about this, and I love this is something that we can offer to all your listeners, because that is the secret sauce that I don't think is talked about enough. It's how do you implement it? And so for me, it's actually taking, if I go to a course or I go to a class, first now I actually have an intention when I go into it about why I'm here for it. And then afterwards, taking the time to review and say, okay, what am I actually going to implement? So as an example, one of the communication techniques that I've learned is from nonviolent communication. And that technique I've used in my relationship, especially when there's things that have come up that are a little bit more challenging to talk about, or there's like some anger or frustration that comes up. It's never been productive to just lash out, right? That never helps when someone does it towards us or when we do it towards somebody else. And that's not who I want to be. So for example, nonviolent communication as a tool has helped me have better and more effective communication, which ultimately leads to a better relationship. So for me, it's really seeing, okay, with anything that I'm learning, how could I implement it? And then the second thing, recognizing that it's a process of learning, right? If I have an awareness and I see something that I didn't see before, to me, I celebrate that awareness. So even when I just redid this Queen's Code course with Allison, and this is like 5 years after I'd first taken it with her, I recognized how I had let emasculation creep into my relationship. Right? And it wasn't something I was proud of. I was really like, oh, wow. Like I, who teach on relationships and who, have studied this for years, I have forgotten. I have failed at this. And giving myself grace and compassion and also recognizing now that I see it and I recognize it, I can shift it. And it also, to me, is something that shows that none of us are perfect. Not like we can all forget things. We can all fall back into patterns, but it's when we see it and we recognize it, then coming in and saying, okay, how am I going to shift things differently? So as a very specific example in my relationship, I started noticing and speaking to more and more of everything that's great in the relationship to my partner. And what do you know? All of a sudden there was even more of that and even more of that and even more of that. And sometimes we hear these things like these sayings, oh, what you appreciate appreciates. And because it's a saying that everyone says, we just kind of like hear it. It goes on, it goes in our head and out. But when we actually apply it, like, oh, wow, what you appreciate appreciates. So what am I appreciating in my life? Okay, I want to appreciate my partner for all these ways he's showing up that are so amazing. And then what happens? I get more of that, right? So then it becomes a virtuous cycle. And to me, and the last thing I'll say on this, because I think it's so important, is that everything that we learn is what someone else considers great. Right? It's worked for them and that's why they're sharing it with us. And so I teach this to my clients as well. I'm going to share with you what's true for me and what's helped me. This is for you to try on though. This is for you to test for yourself. And if you like the results, keep trying it. And if you don't like the results, try something else. But it's your life, right? This is your sovereignty and your intuition and your wisdom that is coming out and coming forth.
Yeah, so good. One of the things that I give you a lot of credit for whenever I use it with myself or I use it with clients, and it's so simple. It's how do I want to be? So as a linear thinker, I can often get stuck in the what should I do? What should I do? What's next? Like, I don't know what to do. And I feel like the question, how do I want to be, is actually an invitation back into my feminine, because do implies like action outward, whereas how do I want to be is more centered around how do I want to feel. And if that's how I want to feel, what would be required of me or invited of me to get to feel that way? And that dictates the action. And so I taught this inside the Future Self Life Coaching certification. I gave you all the credit, and I'm curious how you use that on like a daily or, weekly basis in your own life. How do I want to be?
All the time I use that actually. That's actually, and thank you for sharing that. Because that's something that also brings me so much joy, is seeing when I share something and somebody takes it for themselves and uses it and makes their lives better. So thank you for sharing that. It's super meaningful to me. It's something that I use almost daily in my intention setting practices. Who do I want to be today? How do I want to show up as? And then when I'm reviewing my week to see who was I being? How did I show up? Because that's also something that I have seen in myself in relationship, right? Going back to that topic. It's, okay, if I'm frustrated about something, if there's something that I'm not liking in a relationship, how am I showing up first? And 9.9 out of 10 times, I can look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm getting a result I don't like by being a person that I don't prefer to be. So let me shift how I'm showing up. And again, it comes back to like, we're humans. All of us forget, all of us fall back into things sometimes. And to me, the progress and the excitement about being human is that we get to remember and then we get to choose differently. Choice is what brings on our greatness.
Yeah, I love that. We were doing the book club for the Winner Circle, my 12-month mastermind earlier today. And we were talking about, having this loving awareness and losing headphones, having this loving awareness and recognizing that you're human and letting it all be a practice, letting it all be something that's a constant unfolding. You mentioned your practices, your intentional practice that you have. Tell us more. What is your morning routine or morning routines? What are the things that you do that help you stay in line with how you want to be?
Thank you for this beautiful question, because it is ever evolving and it's still evolving. So what I do for myself, I like to think of life as a buffet. And so that's inclusive of my morning routines. That's inclusive of how I move my body. That's inclusive of my meditation practices. Is that I have so many different modalities and ways that have served me. And so I compile them all. I have them all. It's like, oh, I love this and I love this and I love this. And so when I wake up, it's what would serve me today. And what I've been finding is that for me, it's quiet time in the morning, which includes meditation, journaling, some light yoga, some movement, and that serves me. And so I am, especially for the feminine, and I think more of your listeners are on the feminine side than the masculine side, especially for the feminine, it's so important for us to remember that we're meant to be in flow, right? We're meant to, as our cycle shifts and as we shift, as things come up, we're meant to choose today what it is that's going to serve us today without the rigidity that serves the masculine so well and so often doesn't serve us so well. So for me, it's about having this plethora, this buffet of options, and then choosing what's going to serve me today for the outcomes that I want. I think that's the other thing. It's like sometimes we think of routine as like, oh, I need to do all these things. But why? And so that always helps me when I think of the why behind everything. And this is so that I feel more balanced and centered. This is so that I'm able to show up as the person that I want to be. And then it becomes obvious. Oh, okay, I'm going to do this or this. But when it's just a strict, rigid, this is how you have to do it, that just didn't work for me. So for me, it's that like flexibility, freedom, flow, and feeling into, and then noticing the results. And when you get great results, okay, do more of it.
Yeah. So how do you marry the consistency of, let's say, weekly reflections or monthly reflections and the somewhat masculine structure that provides you and the like container that it provides the feminine with the feminine desire to flow and maybe not be in the mood to do it? And so how do you bring in both?
So this is actually something that I learned from one of my mentors that I really love, is to zoom out. So for example, and I'll bring it back to a body example, like I value a healthy body. So the masculine might look like consistently moving my body, and the feminine might look like moving it in different ways and doing ways that really feel good to me. Like for me, I love dancing. I love doing yoga. I love going on walks, right? And I love weight workouts because I want to build my muscle even more. And so that to me is a blend of the masculine and the feminine. And then the zoom out is to say, okay, even if I don't feel like doing this workout today, do I desire a fit and healthy body? And this is going to get me closer to that. Yes. Okay. Then I'm going to do this. And so that has really helped me to have that perspective both zoomed out and today, because if we just do what we feel in the moment, oftentimes what we need to do won't get done. Right? Who feels like doing their taxes today? And yet it's like, that's actually very important to have a successful business, is to make sure that your taxes and all those things are up to date. So if you zoom out and say, I want to have a successful business, okay, then you make sure you hire the right person, or you do it if you're doing it yourself. If you zoom out and say, I want a healthy and fit body, okay, I've committed to weight workouts 3 times a week because I know that's getting me towards the body goal that I want and maintaining that.
Yeah, I love it. We were talking on the book club training about, I think it's Liz Gilbert who says you choose the shit sandwich that you want to eat. And so it's like, okay, if you want to have a successful business, you're choosing some crappy sandwiches that come with being an entrepreneur. If you want to have a strong and healthy body, then you're choosing into some of the sacrifices, some of the things you give up and some of the things you endure. And that's the case in every area of life, right? No solutions, only trade-offs. And so we get to decide, what are we choosing to trade for this extraordinary life that we say that we want. So, Frances, one of the other things I remember you saying when we were hanging out a couple weeks ago is you were prioritizing going out and buying a certain outfit because it aligned with the identity that you choose to have, and what you currently had with you, with like the minimal baggage that you brought to Colombia, didn't allow for that identity. And I think that this is really important for people who are listening that aren't yet manifesting, creating, whatever the word is that you want to use, what they desire, because it might be that they haven't fully owned the identity of the person who has it. And so just talk whatever comes to your mind about how other ways that you leverage identity work and how you've implemented that.
I love this question. Thank you, Kim. Okay, so to me, identity work is everything. It defines who we are, how we show up in the world, how we see ourselves, of course, how other people see us. But we all know the most important thing is how we see ourselves. So how we present ourselves is then going to be who we show up as in the world and what opportunities come our way, because this is how the world works. This is how the cookie crumbles, right? And so to me, being it just actually reminded me of a new initiative that I have. I'm so excited about. It's going to be here in Colombia first. And then, as you know, I'm a world traveler, so I'm going to take it to other cities as well. And that's going to be future self dinners. So as part of my visioning workshops that I offer, I'm now going to offer a second follow up to that, which is going to be future vision dinners. And so after you've done visioning for 3 years out, which is what I do with my clients, and I do those in group settings, and I love them because they're so much fun to bring out the best in people and to bring out, like, who are you now and who are you becoming, right? So have this vision session. And then adding on to that now is then a future vision dinner. And so what we're going to do is, you're so clear on who you are, who you've become. And so you literally just show up as that person. You dress as that person. You introduce yourself as that person. You are that person. And so obviously we all know about visioning and how powerful that is to be in that feeling. And so I'm actually taking that to an experiential, in-person experience to say, this is the identity that I'm embodying. And as this person who already has this success, this relationship, the clients, whatever it is you desire, how do you feel? How do you show up? What are you doing? What are the actions that you make? Because I think one of the most important things about identity, and especially for anyone who's wanting to step into a new identity, you choose health by being healthy today. You choose to become a healthy person by making the choices a healthy person makes today. And then what happens is that your body catches up, right? You become a wealthy person by the actions and choices you make today. And then your bank account and your investments catch up, right? But the identity is what starts first. And then the external can catch up to it. It's who we are first that matters. And so to me, identity work is the most important work that we can do.
I love this. This is why Frances and I are friends, because I had no idea she was going to say that. And she has no idea that at the Heart of Business retreat in November, our culminating party was a come as your future self party. And this concept of, be before you get to have, is a really integral part of the future self life coaching certification. And so it's just a potent reminder that when you are learning things and they're working for you, go out and teach them, go out and offer them to your community, because no one else can offer them in the exact same way you are doing them. And it doesn't matter if anyone else has already done it or they're already teaching the same thing. They don't have the same energy as you. They don't have the same experience as you. And there's more than enough to go around. There's more than enough people to help. So I love that we have that in common.
love that so much. And also something that I value so much about our friendship is how many of these commonalities we have, where it's like, of course, Kim did that. Kim's amazing. I love it.
Okay, you recently supported a retreat that was happening in Colombia. Tell us a little bit about the workshops that you were leading and what inspired the topics that you were teaching on.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was like so much in my world and so much in the feminine world. So I want this also to be evidence and a reminder for anyone listening that when we're in our feminine, things flow. Things flow to us, things flow for us, through us, because that's how we're meant to show up in this world, by magnetizing things. And so I absolutely magnetized this opportunity to collaborate with a really incredible retreat center. There were so many synchronicities, including the ring that I wear, that Kim also wears. There's a logo. And so that was super exciting. There was just so many synchronicities that happened. And there was just so much alignment. And it just was effortless and easeful, right? And so they know that one of the core things that I teach is on relationships. And so they have asked me to do a workshop on relationships. I ended up leading a 2-hour workshop on relationships for a variety of people. Some were single, some wanted better relationship with their kids, but most of them had been married for 30 plus years.
Wow.
And so it was really such an honor to show up and to be able to teach them skills and tools that I've learned, and then to see the immediate results, right? To see, okay, what is everyone implementing? And everyone started sharing. And some people who didn't have their partner there, they had messaged their partner with, for example, effective forms of communication and gotten amazing responses. And it's like, yes, this is why I do this work, because this work changes lives, right? I'm still getting messages from that retreat from people of, thank you for this. This helped me so much. I implemented this. And this is, to me, what lights me up and makes me love doing this work, where it's actually changing people's lives from the inside out. Because as you show up better for yourself, better for your relationships, better in your business, everything flows better. Everything is easier. Yeah. Everything is more fulfilling and fun.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm wondering if you've ever had imposter syndrome keep you from taking the action that your intuition, I know why she's laughing, your intuition and your soul was calling you to take, because this is something I see stop a lot of really empowered and ready coaches. And if you have, how did you move beyond it?
Yeah, your questions are just so good. Okay, so thank you again for this, because that's actually something that I struggled with for years. And it was something that kept me from teaching, even when I knew so much, even when I had already been embodying so much. And it kept me small and it kept me hidden, and it didn't serve the people that I was meant to serve. And I think from what I know now and my experience of imposter syndrome and knowing people that are so successful who still talk about having it come up at times, to me, it's simply, again, part of the human experience that we have these fears that show up, that we have these feelings of inadequacy. And so something that really helped me was looking at those fears, because what has never helped me, and again, this is something big that I learned, is ignoring something doesn't fix it, doesn't make it go away, right? But actually looking at it to say, okay, I'm having this fear, I'm having this imposter syndrome. Where does that come from? Okay, that comes from feeling that I'm not good enough. Okay, is that true? No, that's not true. And then being able to work through it and to see, is there something else that I need to learn to be able to give my clients what they need? Sometimes the answer is yes. Okay, let me go learn that, because I also really value being able to give an incredible amount to my clients. And is it also true that I'm always learning and that I've already learned so much and that I can already help so many people? That's immensely true, hugely true. And so both of those can be true at the same time. And so if there's something specific to learn to help a specific client, I'm going to go learn that. And then if it's just in general, knowing that I've literally dedicated 8 years to learning and growth and personal development, like this is so much of my life and who I am and continues to be, that I have so much to share and to offer people.
Yeah, I love this last thing that you said. I have committed so much of my life, and so I know that I have so much to share and offer people. And it's okay that I will continue to be learning and growing as long as I'm breathing.
100%. Actually, I want to share one other thing that I think is super important. There's also been times where in my relationship challenges come up. right? Like I'm a human in a human relationship. And that also gave me imposter syndrome. I thought, oh, wait a minute. If I don't have a perfect relationship, how can I teach on relationships? Mm-hmm. Then I realized, wait a minute, I am the perfect person to teach on relationships because I'm so committed to having a great relationship and having a great partnership that I'm always going to learn and stumble through these things and then be stronger on the other side and be wiser on the other side and be able to teach that on the other side. And I actually think it would make me the most unrelatable coach to say, I have a perfect relationship. Let me show you how to do that. Because I don't.
Could not agree more.
What I do have is commitment, love, desire, passion, growth. And that to me is what brings out the best in myself and my partner. And then I'm able to share that with my clients.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Tell me how community has shaped or impacted your growth as a coach.
So important. It's the communities that I've been in where I've been learning, right? Different mastermind groups, different, like we talked about that we met through the Tony Robbins world. That's an incredible community that led me to so many other different incredible communities. And even when I think of all of the opportunities that I've had in business, my coaching clients that I work with, the retreats that I facilitate with and that I partner on, and my consulting clients, it's all come through community. Literally everybody has come through community. And for those in your audience familiar with human design, I'm a 1-4. So I'm literally meant to go learn all the things and then teach it to my community with that 4 line. So community is so important in my life.
What are some other personality typing systems or frameworks that you've leaned on over the years, and why do you like them?
I love Gene Keys and I love human design because both of those have been for me such beautiful ways to see where my strengths lie, to see where strengths lie with people that I work with. So when I get new clients, new coaching clients, myself and my partner, like I reach through everyone's human design and Gene Keys, obviously with their permission, just to understand them better, to know them better, to love them better, to see how I can show up for them better, and to see, okay, here are the things that come naturally to me as my gifts and effortlessly for me, and this is how I shine, my zone of genius. This is their zone of genius, right? And this is how they make, for example, human design, many people in the population, myself included, we're generators, we have a lot of energy. We have a sacral response, so it's an immediate yes or no decision to something. We just know it's right. It is actually what this B reminds me of. It's like, I'm just doing what's in my pleasure, what's good for me, what I know is like this in my soul. And then there's other people like my partner. He's an emotional authority, which means that he goes through an emotional wave and there's time for him to have that response. And I used to be so frustrated with, like, why doesn't he just have a response like me? Because most of us, we think, doesn't everyone think like me? It's such a human thing to do. And so to me, it's a real act of love to understand how other people operate so that we can bring out the best in each other. And instead of me being impatient, I can just recognize, oh, okay, he's going to need more time to take that decision. And I'll take care of myself like this and do what I need to do. But we literally see the world differently. So to me, that's also, it's bringing out the genius in each of us. It's like, I have my own genius. He has his own genius. My clients have their own genius. And how can we magnify all of that? That's what makes the world a more beautiful place.
Yeah. How would you describe human design to someone who's never heard of it?
Okay. A human design is a modality that really shows you your strengths, where you shine, shows you what comes naturally to you. It's based off of astrology because it's based on your birth date. And even for people I know that don't believe in astrology, they have found this to be incredibly accurate for themselves. So I think it's something, if people are interested in, definitely go research it and look it up and see how it helps you in your life, right? And knowing as well, and I think this is something that isn't always talked about, so I'll just touch on, knowing what it says for you is what comes easiest and most natural. You can do anything. You can be anything, right? So for example, I am somebody who loves to study, loves to learn, which is all about one line, which is what I am in human design. And I'm somebody who easily connects with people, who loves connecting with people, who finds and gives so many opportunities through my networks and my connections. So it's like, oh, that's easy and obvious to me. But that doesn't mean I'm not also available in, say, the leadership role that the 6 is, or the Phoenix rising, the 3 is, because I've had my moments of like being crushed and then rising back up. And so it's like all of us have all of this. It's just some of this is going to be come more naturally to us, some than others.
Yeah. And what I also love about human design is that it marries astrology with the chakra system, and it brings in elements of the I Ching, which is like ancient Chinese system. And it's just very cool to see. It's kind of complex too. So as a lifelong learner, I think it's really interesting because I feel like I could never really reach the bottom of human design or gene keys. And so there's always like more things to learn. But I've also found it to be really useful. There was a period of time where every single one-on-one client that signed with me, I would give them a free reading with one of my favorite human design coaches because I just think it's so interesting. Yeah. So tell me, what are you most excited that you're creating right now, Frances?
So what I'm most excited about right now is this year is all about iterating on my body of work. So I've been every month or so having a new offering that's been incredible. The people that have been coming in have been so aligned. I'm having retreats this year that are so exciting, both partnerships like what I've just done, and then I'll be having some of my own as well. And just knowing that I'm able to show up in this way and serve in this way, I'm just super excited for the clients that are coming in that I haven't even met yet. It just feels like they feel good.
And where can people go get more of you if they want to enter the world of Frances Joy? How do they do that?
So one of the best ways is through my website, francesjoy.love. And you can also find me on Instagram at Aloha I am Frances.
One of the things that you'll notice as soon as you enter Frances's world is that she has spent a lot of time in Hawaii. So there's this element, this femininity, this frequency, this lushness that she brings to her aesthetic. And it's such a cool reminder to me around identity and branding and really checking in with, okay, is my brand, my aesthetic, my appearance, my website representing what I want to be conveying to people? And is there an invitation to be even more intentional about it? So with that, I think you mentioned before we came on that there's a cool beliefs system or worksheet that people can check out as well.
Yes. So both on my Instagram bio and then also on my website, you can find a free download for a beliefs worksheet, which really ties into the identity that we were talking about earlier. And it's just a resource that I love to give people because to me, it's the most essential thing. Who you are and your identity and your beliefs dictate your reality. So if there's a way that I can support, I'm so happy to do so.
I love it. My last question is, what do you wish you had known when you were first starting your coaching business?
I wish I had known that it's the embodiment that changes everything, right? When I started showing up as my embodied self, that's when all the clients started coming. And so as opposed to worrying about what I didn't yet know or what I hadn't yet embodied, just focusing on here's who I am and being so solid in that truth. I'm someone who has grown and expanded so much and I always will continue to. And here's where I can support now. And here's what I'm growing into.
Love. So powerful. Thank you, dear friend. I'm so grateful to have this conversation and all of the ones offline that people don't get to be a part of. I value you and I appreciate you.
Thank you, my friend. This has been such an honor and so fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so we'll have everything that we talked about in today's conversation in the show notes. Human design, Allison Armstrong, francesjoy.love, all the things in the show notes. So be sure and check those out. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you want to get access to all of the resources that we talked about in today's show, head over to theprofitablecoach.com/075. And if you want to get access to Frances and really dive into her world and get to know what are some of the magical tools that she's used to manifest and grow this incredible partnership, this incredible business, then head over to francesjoy.love. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you on next week's episode.